Hello, and welcome back to Baby Elias's stories. We now return to Guards by Terry Pratchett. The final part 22. The gongs of various midnights banged out the old day. And further towards the hub, where the ram-top mountains join the forbidding spires of the central massif, were strange, hairy creatures roamed the eternal snows, where blizzards howled around the freezing peaks. The lights of a lone lamasery shone out over the high valleys. Lamasery, a monastery of llamas. The lights of a lone lamasery shone out over the high valleys. In the courtyard, a couple of yellow-robed monks stacked the last case of small green bottles onto a sleigh, ready for the first leg of the incredibly difficult journey down to the distant plains. The box was labeled in careful brushstrokes. Mr. C.M.O.T. Dibbler, Ankh-Morpork. "You know Lobsang," said one of them. "One cannot help wondering what it is he does with this stuff." Corporal Nobbs and Sergeant Colin lounged in the shadows near the mended drum, but straightened up as Carrot came out bearing a tray. Detritus, the troll, stepped aside respectfully. "Here we are, lads," said Carrot. 3 pints, on the house." "Bloody hell, I never thought you'd do it," said Colin, grasping a handle. "What did you say to him?" "I just explained how it was the duty of all good citizens to help the guard at all times," said Carrot innocently. "And I thanked him for his cooperation." "Yeah, and the rest?" said Nobby. "No, that was all I said." "Then you must have a really convincing tone of voice." "Ah, well, make the most of it, lads, while it lasts," said Colin. They drank thoughtfully. It was a moment of supreme peace. A few minutes snatched from the realities of real life. It was a brief bite of stolen fruit, and enjoyed as such. No one in the whole city seemed to be fighting or stabbing or making a fray, and just for now, it was possible to believe that this wonderful state of affairs might continue. And even if it didn't, then there were memories to get them through, of running and people getting out of the way, of the looks on the faces of the horrible palace guard, of when all the thieves and heroes and gods had failed, of being there, of nearly doing things nearly right. Nobby shoved the pot on a convenient windowsill, stamped some life back into his feet, and blew on his fingers. A brief fumble in the dark recesses of his ear produced a fragment of cigarette. "Water time, eh?" said Colin contentedly, as the flare of a match illuminated the 3 of them. The others nodded. Yesterday seemed like a lifetime ago, even now. But you could never forget something like that. No matter who else did, no matter what happened from now on. If I never see any bloody king, it'll be too soon, said Nobby. I don't reckon he was the right king anyway, said Carrot. Talking of kings, anyone want a crisp? There's no right longs, said Colin, but without much rancor. $10 a month was going to make a big difference. Mrs. Cullen was acting very differently towards a man bringing home another $10 a month. Her notes on the kitchen table were a lot more friendly. No, but I mean, there's nothing special about having an ancient sword, said Carrot. Or a birthmark. I mean, look at me. I've got a birthmark on my arm. My brother's got one too, said Colin, shaped like a boat. Mine's more like a crown thing, said Carrot. Oh-hoo, that makes you a king then, grinned Nobby. Stands to reason. I don't see why. My brother's not an admiral, said Colin reasonably. And I've got this sword, said Carrot. He drew it. Shing! Colin took it from his hand and turned it over and over in the light from the flare over the drum's door. The blade was dull and short, and notched like a saw. It was well made, and there might have been an inscription on it once, but it had long ago been worn into indecipherability by sheer use. It's a nice sword, he said thoughtfully, well balanced. But not one for a king, said Carrot. Kings' swords are big and shiny and magical and have jewels on it, and when you hold them up, they catch the light. Ting! Ting, said Colin. Yes, I suppose they have to, really. I'm just saying you can't go around giving people's thrones. I'm just saying you can't go round giving people thrones just because of stuff like that, said Carrot. That's what Captain Vimes said. Nice job, mind, said Nobby. Good hours, kinging. Colin had momentarily been lost in a little world of speculation. Real kings had shiny swords, obviously. Except maybe your real king of, like, days of yore. He would have a sword that didn't sparkle one bit, but was bloody efficient at cutting things. Just a thought. I say kinging's a good job, Nobby repeated. Short hours? Yeah, but not long days, said Colin. He gave Carrot a thoughtful look. Ah, there's that, of course. Anyway, my father says being king's too much like hard work, said Carrot. All the surveying and assaying and everything. He drained his pint. It's not the kind of thing for the likes of us. Us, he looked proudly. Guards! You all right, Sergeant? What? Oh, yes. Colin shrugged. What about it, anyway? Maybe things turned out for the best. He finished the beer. Best be off, he said. What time is it? About 12 o'clock, said Carrot. Anything else? Carrot gave it some thought. All's well, he said. Right, just testing. You know, said Nobby, the way you say it, lad, you could almost believe it was true. Let the eye of attention pull back. This is the disk, world and mirror of worlds, born through space on the back of 4 giant elephants, who stand on the back of great Atuin, the sky turtle. Around the rim of this world, the ocean pours off endlessly into the night. At its hub rises the 10-mile spike of the Cori Celesti, on whose glittering summit the gods play games with the fates of men. If you know what the rules are, and who are the players. On the far edge of the disk, the sun was rising. The light of the morning began to flow across the patchwork of seas and continents, but it did so slowly, because light is tardy and slightly heavy in the presence of a magical field. On the dark crescent, where the old light of sunset had barely drained from the deepest valleys, 2 specks, one big, one small, flew out of the shadow, skimmed low across the swells of the rim ocean, and struck out determinedly over the total, unfathomable, star-dotted depths of space. Perhaps the magic would last. Perhaps it wouldn't. But then, what does? The end. Good night, baby alias.